Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Dalarna County here in Sweden, and for this one we are going to return to Oppigårds Bryggeri, who I've not reviewed anything from in quite some time, but although I will say the other beers I've had from these guys I have really enjoyed. So tonight we're having a taste of the Thurbo double IPA, which comes in at 8.5%. You've seen me review the Thurbo Stout, of course. The Thurbo beers tend to be their kind of strong ABV ones. They do have a barley wine as well called Thurbo Old Mill or something like this, but this one comes in at 8.5%. It's rated 97 overall on Rate Beer and at 91 within the style, so it should be a really quite nice beer, and this is one that's really quite easily available throughout Sweden actually, so definitely looking forward to trying this one, and I hope you guys enjoy the review as well. So anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Oppigårds reviews that I've done for you before. No doubt I'll add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you before, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. Always interesting to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Oppigårds Bryggeri then. So this brewery was actually founded in the early 2000s in a small village, or small town I should say, called Hedemora, which is to the northwest of Stockholm in Dalarna County near Borlänge and Falun. Falun, of course, the home of Sabaton, a band that I really love from Sweden. But this brewery actually sits on the 250-year-old Falkström family farm in a small wooden building, which was apparently constructed back in 1896. And this space was originally used for flax dressing and also for their great-grandfather's metal smithing. But all the beers are actually brewed in this old building, and they've also added a new malt house to the family farm as well. So the brewery was founded in the early 2000s by Björn Oppigård to revive his family farm because it was struggling at the time, and he basically wanted to revive the old Swedish farmhouse ales as well. And these beers were the norm in Sweden until a wave of the kind of, you know, the sort of piss lagers, these kind of modern export lager kind of things took over in the 1800s. But this really made the farm beers, or the farmhouse ales, really kind of unprofitable and uneconomic. So that was why many of these little breweries actually shut down. But this brewery's become really popular over the last little while, and it's actually allowed the Falkström family to continue to make their living on the farm as they've done since the 1700s. And in their first year they produced only 8,000 litres of beer and sold it very locally, and they're now at a stage where they're producing over 1 million litres of beer per year, and I think they're even expanding beyond that. I believe these beers are starting to be exported with a good bit of volume as well actually from Sweden. For a long time I think they have only been available in the Systembolaget range here in Sweden, but a very good brewery, and they do some really nice beers. Their beers are always really nice and really quite well balanced. They do have quite a big range of different things as well, so just to list these for you, there's the Amarillo, the American Dark Ale, the Dark Lager, the Easter Ale, the Everyday IPA, Golden Ale, India Tribute, which you've seen me review before. There was the Lavish IPA, which was a special edition beer that I reviewed for you, the Session Pale Ale, the Single Hop Ale, the Summer Session Beer, the Thurbo Double IPA, the Thurbo Stout, and they also have the Winter Ale, and there is another Thurbo beer like I mentioned. I think it's called Thurbo Old Mill or Old Barn or something like that, but that one's a barley wine, but I haven't seen that available in bottle yet, so if I see it I will buy one up and review that for you on the channel as well. But yeah, this one, it should be really nice. So let's get on to the tasting section of the video. As always, if you want to learn more about the brewery, just check out the website, as I say, in the description below, and you can have a read at the whole history of the brewery and the things about their beers and all of this. But yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. Let me just bring up the camera for you. There we are. So you can see it's the kind of typical Oppigårds artwork. All of them tend to have this kind of similar sort of dark green round all to them, but they all just have a different kind of picture in the middle, and they're a different colour depending on what beer it is you actually choose. But yeah, really nicely presented. There you can see, I think, one of the old farm buildings or an old house or something there. You can actually see that. It's in there, but really nicely presented, this one, and you can see it's the standard sort of green and silver star bottle cap that they have on this one. But this one is an 8.5% double IPA. I do have the specs of it here for you. So it's hopped with Chinook, Nugget, Columbus, Cascade and Citra, and it's got a malt base of Pilsner and Munich malt, so it should be really nice. So without further ado then, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. Really quite looking forward to this one, and I think this is the first double IPA that I've had from these guys. So should be a really interesting thing to try a different style. And these Thurbo beers are really quite highly regarded. Yeah, it smells really, you can smell the citra coming off this. You get these nice, slightly tropical fruits coming out of it already, just as you open the bottle. But let's just leave it at that, and we'll have a quick look at the beer before we put the last little bit in. So as you can see, this beer is poured a really nice, quite rich orange amber colour. It's actually crystal clear. That's kind of unusual, and for some of the beers that I've seen recently, it really is quite unusual to see them crystal clear. Most of the beers I've been reviewing have been quite hazy, but it looks very, very nice. It's quite a rich, almost tangerine orange colour, this one. It's really, really quite nice. So there's a little bit of a yellow edge to it. There's some big bubbles of carbonation sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head. This one, of course, didn't pour with much of a head, but it's got a nice little bit, maybe a quarter finger of a frothy white thing going on there. But yeah, it looks really nice, and just from moving the beer around in the way that you've seen me doing, I think it's mainly the citra hop that's actually coming out of this beer. But let's have a closer look at the aroma before we taste it. Oh yeah, no, there's some really nice sort of floral grassy things coming out of this one. You can pick up a little bit of the pine resin underneath as well. You can smell that kind of really dark character from the Chinook. But yeah, there's a little bit of grapefruit in there. You can smell the sort of dark notes that you get from grapefruit. There's a sort of citrusy note just coming out on top of it as well. But you can, when you're further away from the beer, you can definitely smell these sort of lychees, kind of gooseberry things that you expect from the citra. Citra, of course, depending on what other hops it's combined with, it can give you a good bit of mango. But for me in this one, it's a lot of grapefruit character that's coming out, probably from the Chinook and from the casket. I think the nugget can give you some of that as well. But yeah, really quite nice smelling beer, this one. Just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck into it. There's actually quite a little bit of the malty note coming out of this one as well. You can almost get a little bit of earthiness just coming out of this beer as well. You can smell a little bit of earthiness mixing with the malts, but there's some nice toasted caramel elements to this one. It does smell quite oily and quite boozy actually, but there's a good bit of nice bready note in there too. But it's Pilsner and Munich malts they've put in this one, so it's quite interesting that there's such a kind of caramelly presence to the aroma of this beer. But yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma. So there's a nice sort of piney resin character to it. You can smell some of the dark floral aromaticity, a little bit of lighter grassy note as well. And you can see the fruity character of this one's interesting. Like I say, some darker grapefruit. There's a bit of a citrusy character in there as well, sort of not quite orangey citrus, but a more sharp citrus than that. And you can smell these nice light juicy tropical notes that you expect from the citra hop. So yeah, let's get stuck into this beer then. So this one is the Thurbo Double IPA from Oppigårds Bryggeri up in Hedemora, Dalarna here in Sweden. Skål! Oh yeah, that is pretty nice. It's interesting with this one because this would have been one, if I'm thinking about this correctly, this probably would have been one of the first really widely available double IPAs in Sweden. And it's always interesting to go back and try beers like this in comparison to some of the newer and more recently produced things. And I have to admit, I do like the kind of old school style ones. This one, of course, there's a lot of new hops I would think have come out since this beer has been produced. So this one, you know, if you go back to maybe like 2012 or 2010 or something like this, you know, it really, you can take, this is a sort of IPA, a double IPA that is from that era, and I really like that. It's a little bit of nostalgia actually, this beer. So if you enjoyed the IPAs back then, you know, this one will hit the spot for you. It really is just nice to try these things that just take you back a little bit, and it makes you realise as well how beer has kind of evolved. But that's good. That's a really nice beer. It's the thing is as well, when it's 8.5%, one of the things you're really going to notice about this beer is that when it's that high a percentage, it's frighteningly drinkable. This is a really quite easy drinking double IPA, this one. But it's got everything you'd expect. The malt base in this is really interesting. There's a nice bready character to it. On top of that, you can pick out some of the kind of grainy, almost biscuity characteristics coming out of this one. It really is quite nice. There is a little bit of a almost brown bready character to it. It almost has just a little bit of, not quite spice, but just a little bit of bitterness from the kind of grainy characters in the middle of the malt base. But it's nice. It's not quite as sweet and caramelly as some of the American double IPAs that you're going to get though. But for me, this is nice. Just enjoy this beer. But I think it's fair, like I was saying, the thing that this beer makes me think of, it just takes you back a few years to what a kind of West Coast American double IPA was. And I really like that. I really like these things, you know, like School Pin and all of these kind of things. And this beer reminds me of that a little bit. But the hoppy side of this beer is interesting as well. So in the back corner of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness there, and as you come further forward, it's a sort of floral, aromatic thing. There's a tiny little bit of pine resin there that starts to come out a bit more in the aftertaste. You can just feel a little bit of that bitterness on the side of your tongue, but overall, it's quite a dark sort of, it's a dark kind of floral thing that's coming off of this one, and as you go round the front curve of your palate, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy. As you progress into the later stages of the aftertaste, you can feel the sort of biscuity character of the beer. The sweetness just builds in the middle of your tongue, but then the hoppy bitterness, the pine resins and the floral aromaticity start to push their way out in this one a little bit more. But let's have a look at the fruity character as well. Yeah, to me it's really leaning towards the grapefruit. You know, it's got the Chinook, it's got the Cascade, there is another one in there that should give you grapefruit. The name's gone out of it, but the Nugget, I think, should give you a little bit of grapefruit in there as well. So this one's Chinook, Columbus, Cascade, they'll all give you a good bit of grapefruit and a lot of floral and kind of sort of piney resin, dark floral aromaticity to this one. The Nugget, I think, does as well, but I remember Nugget being a bit more piney and floral more than anything else, but really it's grapefruit that starts to that dominates the fruity side of this thing. There's not too much coming out the Citra from the Citra, if I'm honest. Yeah, I mean, you get a little bit of it on the end of the beer, but overall it really is the grapefruit character that's coming out of this one. So the hoppy side of the beer, there's a bit of pine resin, like I say, that's pushing its way out, some floral character, lighter grassy notes, and the fruity side of the beer really is mainly grapefruit. As I always say, the fruity characters come out just in that little oily bubble that you'll find behind the front curve of your tongue, and it's a really quite strong, quite dark, kind of typical grapefruit flavour that's coming out of this one. But it's really nice. The flavours of this beer all kind of blend together quite well. It's not the sweetest of double IPAs. The malt base in this one isn't the sweetest you're going to come across. But for me, it really is quite nice. And the main thing I would say about this beer, if you like some of the old school American IPAs from the breweries, like for example, you know, Green Flash or you know, Ballast Point and things like this, this is going to be a beer that you enjoy. This one really reminds me of the IPAs that I was drinking back in like 2010 and things like this, when we first started to get craft beer, and things like the hardcore IPA, when that first came out in Scotland as well. This is what this beer really reminds me of. So if you like the old school style IPAs, this is one you're going to enjoy. In terms of the rating that it has on Rate Beer, for me it's fair. You just have to remember with it, in comparison to the things that are coming out now, this one is quite a bit more old school than those new beers, but it really is still very nice and it holds its own. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say this is mid-bodied. Definitely say it's mid-bodied. The carbonation, you know, it's moderate, it's right in the middle. It's got quite an oily mouthfeel to it, this one, and that suits the malty side of the beer actually. It helps bring out just a little bit of sweetness from the bread and some of the biscuity character. There's a good bit of bitterness from the hops. There's a little bit of sweetness from the malt base, but like I said, it's mainly a kind of grainy, almost slightly toasted character that comes out of it, and there's a little bit of the fruit, and it's that kind of dark, grapefruity flavour that's coming out in this beer. But for me, this is really quite nicely done. So I would recommend this to those of you who like the sort of old school IPAs, like School Pin from Ballast Point, or some of the West Coast IPA from Green Flash is another one that comes to mind. These kind of old school Californian West Coast double IPAs. This one is another for you to try if that's the sort of thing you enjoy. So yeah, the Thurbo double IPA from Oppigårds Bryggeri in Dalarna here in Sweden. A really quite nice beer that gives you a little bit of nostalgia when you drink it. So yeah, so once again, again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Do consider subscribing if you have enjoyed it, of course, but until the next time, do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what other beers from Oppigårds that you would actually like me to review. This is only my 5th review from them actually. I thought I'd done more of them, so I will do more in the very near future, but this is a really quite nice beer. So until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media and let me know some other Swedish beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me do. But it's been really cool to review this one, and if you want a kind of one of the first Swedish double IPAs, then this is one that you definitely want to check out. So make sure you try some of the Oppigårds beers if you come over here to Sweden. They're really quite easily available and they're pretty damn good as well. So Slange just now, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Skål!